I watched him out of sight thoughtfully, and then turned to see Carla smiling at me. "I love you, Shantaram," she said, kissing me. Sometime later, Kesh solved 2 cases within 2 weeks, and became the star of the Lost Love Bureau. His attention to detail, and retention of detail, proved decisive in solving cases, and no interview proceeded without him. Half Moon Auntie and her intrepid clerk did the accounts for the bureau, and safeguarded sums of money for clients from time to time. She was an astute businesswoman, and spent long hours redesigning the business plan, saving money and hours for everyone else. Her private sessions in Randall's limousine kept her lunar-starved visitors content. "A talent is how you use it," she said to me once, using her talents to illustrate the point. Vincent and Ranveer returned from the ashram bleached of pride, but we didn't see them often, because they were busy with their plans to open a coffee shop and the necessary renovations. When we did manage to catch them mid-renovation for a few minutes, Carla took Ranveer's arm, leading her to girl talk, and leaving me with Vincent in the unfinished coffee shop. "It's like, you know that wave, that perfect wave, that just keeps on going, and won't let you fall?" Vincent said. "No, but I ride a motorcycle, and that's like surfing civilization." "You know that totally, like, forever wave? I have a gas tank. I know how far forever is." "No, I mean, it's like that tendency field jelly that Idris was talking about." I'm, like, surfing the superposition, you know, between equally surfable waves." Ranveer and Idris, they really opened my mind up so much, man. Sometimes, I feel like I'm so full of ideas they're falling out of my head. "I'm glad you're happy, Vincent. And it's great, the coffee bar thing. Really happy, for you and Ranveer. Well, guess I'd better be getting along. This coffee thing is amazing," he said, gesturing toward large sacks, arranged against a wall. "I mean, like, if I just explain the difference between Colombian and Ghanaian blends to you, it'll blow your mind wide open. Thanks for the warning. But you know, Carla will be along any minute, so I doubt we'll have time to get into a big story like that. If she comes back, I'll start it again," he said unhelpfully. "How's Ranveer?" I asked helpfully. "You know that wave, man, the perfect wave that, like, won't let you fall? So glad you're happy. Where do you think Carla and Ranveer got to?" "Just smell these fresh beans up close once," Vincent said, opening a sack. "They're so good, you'll never drink another cup of coffee again." "Is that your slogan?" "No, man, our slogan is our name, man. Love and faith, that's the name of the place, and that's the slogan." There was an innocence in Vincent that Ranveer had lost, when her boyfriend had died from the same drugs Vincent unthinkingly sold. And the innocence she found again, in his willingness to change, was the tender truth in the name they'd chosen for their business, Love and Faith. "Smell my beans," he insisted.
"Ah.
"I'm good. Smell them," Vincent said urgently, dragging a dead body of beans toward me. "I'm not smelling your beans, Vincent, no matter how Colombian they are. Stop dragging that carcass." He shoved the bag against the wall again, just as Carla and Ranveer came back to join us. "He won't smell my beans," Vincent complained. "He won't?" Carla scoffed. "The Lin I know is a bean fanatic. Stuart made a special blend," Ranveer said proudly. "I think it's the best coffee I ever tasted." "I've got it in the other room," Vincent said, ready to leave. "You can smell it, if you like." "I'm good," I said quickly. "I can smell it from here." "I told you, my Easter bunny," Vincent said, hugging Ranveer. "People will smell our coffee from the street outside, and they'll be, like, hypnotized or something." "Good luck, guys," I said, drawing Carla out of the renovated shop. "Opening is at full moon," Ranveer said, mid-hug. "Don't forget." On the street, we climbed onto the bike, but Carla stopped me before I could start the engine. "What did you feel from Vincent?" she asked, her arm on my shoulder. "Waves of beans," I said. "What did you feel from Ranveer? Did he tell you what they're calling the place?" "Yeah, Love and Faith. Why? Far as I can see," Carla said, "he's the love, and she's the faith." A car pulled up beside us, blocking the way. It was a hearse, in fact, with Dennis, the not-sleeping Baba, at the wheel. Concannon was in the passenger seat. Billy Basu and Jamal, the one-man show, were sitting in the back, beside a shop window mannequin laid out in what looked like a clear plastic coffin. Concannon had his elbow on the window. "Wanted," he said, grinning at Carla. "Dead or alive?" "Move," I said. "Hello, Carla," Dennis said. "So nice to meet you." "Awake. Did we meet when I was on the other side?" "Hi, Dennis," she laughed, her arm around my shoulder. "You were certainly high the first time I saw you. What the hell are you doing?" "We are testing the movements of sleepers while they are transported in a sleeping chamber," he said patiently. "I have attached sensitive strips to the mannequin. They will indicate bruises of varying degree. That will help us to determine the most comfortable inner cushioning of the sleeping chambers we will have made for them." "You're making your own coffins?" Carla asked. "Indeed," he said, passing a chillum to Concannon. "We must do it. Current sleeping chambers force the sleepers to have their legs pressed together. Our sleeping chambers will have a wider stance. It's very important for the comfort of sleepers." "I see," Carla smiled. "They will have the softest silk lining, padded with feathers," Dennis continued, his hands on the steering wheel. "And they will be made of glass, so that the sleepers can have plants, small animals and insects roaming about in the earth, all around them, to keep them company while they sleep." "Nice," Carla smiled. "May I present Billy Basu and Jamal, the one-man show?" Dennis said. "Boys, this is Carla Madam." Billy Basu waved a smile at Carla, while Jamal wagged his head, jangling chained gods. I couldn't help myself. "One-man show," I said, nodding at Jamal. "One-man show," he repeated. I looked at Carla, and she understood. "One-man show," she said, smiling at him. "One-man show," Jamal replied on cue, smiling back. I looked at Concannon, wanting him to leave, but he was talking instead. "The dead can dance, you know," he said conversationally. I moved my eyes to Dennis at the wheel of the hearse. "Are you sure you should be driving, Dennis?" I asked, trying to shut Concannon down. "I must drive," Dennis intoned, his rumbling voice echoing in the hearse. "Concannon is not stoned enough to drive a hearse." "The dead can dance," Concannon repeated, smiling happily. "They really can, you know." "You don't say," Carla said, leaning against me. "I do say," Concannon grinned. "I've learned a lot on this job. It's been a real education." I usually walked away, you see, while they were still twitchin', and never looked back. "Concannon," Dennis said, "you're killing my high, man." "I'm only havin' a conversation, Dennis. Just because we're undertakers doesn't mean we can't be sociable." "True," Dennis said, "but how do you expect me to test drive this new hearse if I'm not high?" "I'm only sayin', like," Concannon persisted. "They wriggle around, dead bodies, long after they're gone, shaken about on the table all of a sudden like. One body we had, yesterday, danced better than I do. But I was never the one for dancin', truth be told, when there was fightin' or kissin' to be had." "Light the next chillum," Dennis said, putting the hearse into gear. "If you don't care for my high, listen to the mannequin. He's screaming for it." They pulled away, the slogan of their company streaming past us slowly on the long windows of the hearse. "Peace in rest." "Now, that's an interesting team. A marriage made in limbo," I said. But the mannequin seemed like a nice guy. Chapter 88. Diva Devnani called us to a meeting at her corporate office. It was on the Worley Seaface, a long slow smile of buildings beaming at the sea from a wide, curved boulevard. Diva's building was like the upper deck of an ocean liner, with tall, rounded windows in full sail, and a continuous balcony serving as the rail. When the elevator doors closed, I offered Carla my flask. She took a swig, and handed it back. The elevator operator glanced at me. I offered him the flask, and he took a swig, dripping the rum into his mouth without touching it to his lips. He passed it back, wagging his head. "God bless everyone," he said. "Speaking for everyone," Carla said, "God bless you back." The doors opened onto a marble and glass prairie, with several very pretty girls in very tight skirts grazing at desks of distraction. While Carla spoke to the receptionist, I wandered among the glass and steel desks, glancing over shoulders. The girls were listening to music on their headphones, playing video games and reading magazines. One of the girls looked up at me mid-flip in her magazine. She turned down the volume on her headset. "Can I help you?" she threatened, her eyes fierce. I'll just be over there," I said, backing away. The receptionist took us to an alcove with a view of the door to Diva's office, where we sat in plush chairs. There was a side table, with business newspapers and magazines, soda water in a glass jug, and some peanuts, offered in a bronze cast of a human hand. The palm of peanuts drew my eye as we sat down. I pointed at it, trying to figure out the message. "This is what we're gonna pay you," I whispered to Carla. "Or maybe, this is what happened to the last guy who asked for a raise." "Beggars can't be choosers," Carla said. "Damn good," I smiled, my eyes applauding. A tall, pretty girl appeared at our side. "Can I get you a cup of coffee?" the girl asked. "Maybe later, with Diva," Carla said. "Thanks." The girl left, and I turned to Carla. "It's pretty weird, out there in reception." "It's still a marble tile or two short of weird." "No, I mean the girls. They're not doing anything." "What do you mean, they're not doing anything?" "It's a jive of inactivity." "So? Maybe it's a slow day." "Carla, come on. There are 7 very pretty girls out there, and not one of them is doing anything." "It's kinda weird. It's kinda weird that you counted them," she smiled. The door to Diva's office opened. It was exactly 1 minute before our meeting. A grasp of businessmen filed out, wearing similar suits and identical stares of ambition, fed. "Punctuality is the time of thieves," Carla said, glancing at the clock and standing. Diva came to the door of the office, her hands on her hips. "Come in," she said, kissing Carla on both cheeks. "I've missed you both so much. Thanks for coming." She flopped into an immense chair, behind the curve of a black grand piano that she'd shortened and converted into a desk. A photograph of her father in a silver frame rested on the piano desk. Flowers trailed over the picture, spilling yellow against lacquered black. Incense burned in a tray shaped like a peacock's tail. It was a big room, but there were only 2 chairs facing her desk. All those blank-eyed businessmen had stood during the meeting with Diva. Tough girl, I thought, and who can blame her? "That was something," she said. "Can I get you guys a drink?" "God knows, I need one." She pressed a button on a console, and the door opened a second later. A very pretty girl walked across the large room, stalking the slippery floor on hysterical heels. She stopped at the desk with a flourish of her short skirt, long legs stiff. "Martini," Diva said. "I want you to meet Miss Carla and Mr. Shantaram." Carla waved hello. I stood, put my right hand over my chest, and inclined my head. It's the most polite way to greet any woman in India, because many women don't like to shake hands. Martini inclined her head at me, and I sat down again. "I'll have a Manhattan," Diva said. "What about you, Carla?" 2 jiggers of vodka over 2 cubes, please. A lime soda, for me." Martini spun on a .50 caliber heel, and stalked away slowly, a giraffe in a glass zoo. "I suppose you're wondering why I called you here," Diva said, giving me a different wondering, because I wasn't. "I'm wondering," Carla said, "but not about that. You'll get to the point when it's sharp enough, right? How are you, Diva?" "It's been weeks." "I'm good," she smiled, straightening up in the chair that looked like half a bed for her small frame. "I'm tired, but I've been working on that. I sold everything today. Just about everything. That was the last, in a very long line of meetings I've had, yesterday and today." "Sold everything how?" Carla asked. "All the men who actually run the companies, in my portfolios, have tranches of shares as bonuses. I told them that if I sold my portfolio in one hit, their shares would be worthless. But if they gave the shares back to me, they could take the companies and run them with their own boards, and give themselves sweaty palm bonuses, without spending $1, and I would resign." "Smart move," Carla said. "As principal shareholder, you have an annual general meeting to use against them. But you skip the day-to-day. It's like getting drunk without the hangover." "Precisely," Diva said, as Martini arrived with the drinks. "Have you got a joint?" Diva asked. "Yes," Carla and Martini said at the same time, turning their heads instantly to look at one another. It looked tense, to me. But silent struggles between beautiful women are feminine magicians' tricks, faster and subtler than male eyes and instincts can follow. I couldn't be sure what was going on, so I smiled at everybody. Carla took a slender joint from her case, and passed it to Diva. Martini glowered, all legs and no pockets, and whirled away, the frills of her skirt like a creature designed by a reef. Thanks, Carla, Diva said. I'm a free woman as of this minute. If the sun was down, I'd be drinking champagne. I can drink cocktails all day, but when I start on champagne my IQ drops 20 points, and that's a stupidity I'm keeping in reserve for later tonight. Meanwhile, to freedom for women. Freedom for women, Carla toasted. Diva was silent for a while. Carla brought her back. How bad was it? They all wanted control, Diva said, turning her drink in her hands. They couldn't bear to see it, a woman in control, when they'd all happily licked a man's boot. They let you know? Carla asked. I saw it in their eyes, at every meeting. And the whispering always came back to me, from men who betrayed men. Power, in my hands, was a declaration of war to them. These parasites that my father let infest the companies, these men who looked the other way when black money almost ruined us, they started getting nasty. Even threatening. You know what I mean, Carla? Men like that you crush, or you leave behind, Carla said. You could have crushed them, Diva, because your father left you the power to do it. Why are you walking away? My dad was into energy stocks in a big way. That's all we've got left, while the construction business pays off debts, and those stocks are still paying well. I wouldn't have made those bets on oil and coal, but he did, and he locked me onto a wheel that thousands of people are running on. I can't just turn it off. So you're still in the game? Carla asked. I'm stepping out, but I told the new managers that for every year they get cleaner and better at what they do, they get a tranche of their shares back. What are your plans? I asked. I kept one company and quarantined it from the sale. I kept the combined modeling agency and bridal boutique, the one I told you about. I added a wedding advice service and I've renamed it. I'm going to run it. Ah, I said, so the girls you've got here are models, waiting for assignments. You could say that, Diva replied, turning to Carla. I know it's a while since we talked about this, Carla, but I was hoping you're still interested. I'd love to have your ideas in this. What do you think? I liked it when it was just an idea, she said. And I'm happy to see you make it real. Count us in, for as long as we're here in town. Let's talk about it next week, over dinner at our place, okay? Yeah, Diva said vaguely, her eyes drifting to the garlanded photograph of her father. We let her have some time, both of us content to wait until her trance ended. You know why I insisted that everyone call me Diva? She asked after a while, still staring at the photograph. I was in the bathroom, at a party, and I heard what my own friends called me, behind my back. Trivia Divya, they said. Trivia Divya. And you know what? They were right. I was trivial, so I changed my name to Diva, that night, and made everybody call me that. But this is the first time that I've felt untrivial, if there's such a word. Essential is the word, Diva, Carla said. The young heiress turned her face to Carla's and smiled, laughing softly. It's all good, she said, standing from her chair with a stretch and a yawn. We stood with her, and she walked us to the tall doors of her office. So glad you're free, Carla said, hugging her as we left. Fly high, baby bird. We roamed free on the bike, at slow speed, thinking different thoughts. I was thinking of the poor little rich girl, who'd lived in a slum and given away a fortune. Carla was thinking something else. They're all very classy ex-callgirls, she said over my shoulder. What? They're all ex-callgirls. Who? The pretty girls back at the office, who were doing nothing, very prettily. They're all ex-callgirls. Dominatrices, actually. Experts in fetish. Diva hired them for the fetish party, but after the party, offered them jobs. They all came. They're not modeling for Diva. They're running the marriage and wedding agency. They should do fine, I said. Why didn't you tell me, when I brought it up? Stop the bike, she said, leaning away from me. I pulled into the exit lane, near a bus stop. Are you seriously asking me, she asked, her breath on my neck, why I didn't tell you that we were going to a carnival of ex-callgirls? Well? I swung back into the traffic and rode for a while, but then stopped again, because Oleg was sitting in the middle of the road divider, playing the guitar. We pulled up beside him. What are you doing, Oleshka? Carla asked, smiling a handful of queens. Playing guitar, Carla, he grinned back, Russianly. See you round, Oleg, I said, revving the engine. Carla pressed a finger gently on my shoulder, and the engine cooled down. Why here? Carla asked. The acoustics are perfect, he said, smiling, deliberately. The sea behind me and the buildings. What are you playing? Carla asked. It's a song called Let the Day Begin, by The Call. This guy, Michael Bin, he's like a saint of rock and roll. I love him. Can I play it for you? See you round, Oleshka, I said, revving again. Why don't you hop on board? Carla said. Really? Oleg and I said at the same time. We'll drop you at home, she said. We're on our way to Dongri. Oleg climbed up behind Carla. We rode with her legs wrapped around me on the petrol tank. She was leaning against Oleg, who had his guitar strung on his back. We cruised past a group of traffic cops, waiting at a crossing to bring down a zebra or two in the jungle street. Vikaru Naka, I said in Marathi. Don't ask. Chapter 89. Carla hadn't visited the perfume bazaar in Dongri or anywhere in the area since the fire at Kotterbai's mansion. But she mixed her own perfume and needed her special fragrances. When she finally felt ready to face a page she'd turned without reading, we became a thread in the tightly woven carpet of traffic to visit her favorite shop, just off Muhammad Ali Road. Great Ali, one of 3 cousin brothers named Ali in his family, the others being Sad Ali and Considerate Ali, welcomed us into his shop, settling us on cushions. I'll pour some tea, Carla madam, Considerate Ali said. It has been so long, Sad Ali said. We've missed you. I have your private selection ready for you, Carla madam, Great Ali said. We drank tea, while Carla examined her special essences and listened to a story about a rare perfume, carried from a rare corner of the rarefied world. As we were leaving, the large elderly merchant, dressed in white, asked if he could inhale Carla's own perfume, but once. Carla obliged, extending the frond of her slender wrist, the palm of her hand falling like a leaf in the rain. The perfume traders all inhaled several times professionally, and then shook their heads doubtfully. One of these days, Great Ali said, as we left, I will discover the secret of your bouquet. Never say die, Carla replied. We walked the street again. On the way back to the bike, Carla's small vials of precious scents and oils jingling softly in a black velvet bag. After a few steps, we saw 2 men we knew well from the old days of the Kotterbai Company. They crossed to the footpath near us. Salar and Azim were street guys, who'd spent years on the lowest tier of company condescension. While favored sons died, they survived there in the shallows long enough to find higher positions in the new Khalid Company, desperate to replace its fallen soldiers. They wore new company clothes, and fidgeted with their new gold chains and bracelets, still finding the right place to carry the burden of obedience. They'd known Carla since before my time with the company, and liked her. They told her a scary funny gangster story, because they knew she'd like it. She did, and responded with a scary funny bad girl story. They laughed, throwing their heads back, their gold necklaces catching the evening light. So long, guys, I said. Allah Hafiz. Where you going? Salar asked. Back to the bike, on Muhammad Ali Road. We'll walk with you. There's a short cut, through here. We'll show you. We're going this way, I said. Might do some more shopping. Allah Hafiz. Kuda Hafiz, Azim replied, waving goodbye. I didn't want to walk anywhere with Khalid Company men, or any soldiers, from any company. I didn't want to reminisce. I didn't even want to remember. For the 1000th time, I thought about leaving the island city with Carla, and setting up somewhere else on a remote beach. You can't escape the company in the city. The company is the city. You can only escape the company in a place where there's nothing left to own. We walked through thin crowds, and we were about to cross the cobbled entrance to a side alley, when screams ripped silken peace, and people ran panicked from the entrance to the alleyway. I glanced at Carla, wanting to be somewhere else. We both knew, or suspected, that Salar and Azim must be involved. We'd known them for years, but company street wars weren't my problem anymore, and I was ready to leave. Carla wasn't. She urged me forward, and we edged closer to look. A man came staggering out of the alley and stumbled into me. It was Salar. He was bloody, all over. He'd been stabbed several times in the chest and stomach. He collapsed against me, and I held him in my arms. I glanced past him and saw Azim, face down, and pulsing the last of his blood into the stones of the alley. I'll get a cab, Carla said, darting away. Salar lifted his hand, with effort. and tugged at his gold neck chain until it broke. "For my sister," he said, pressing it against me. I put the chain in my pocket and took a firm grip around his waist. "I can't let you lie down, brother," I said. "I wish I could, but I'll never get you up again in one piece if I do. Carla's got a taxi coming. Hold on, man. I'm done for, Lynn. Leave me. Yalla, the pain. I don't know how, but they missed your lungs, Salar. You're still breathing air. You're gonna make it, man. Just hold on." Carla arrived in 2 minutes, swinging the door of the taxi open. We bundled Salar into the back with me, while Carla gave instructions from the front seat. I don't know how much she paid the taxi driver, but he didn't blink at the blood, and got us to GT Hospital in record time, driving against the flow of traffic. At the hospital entrance, orderlies and nurses put Salar on a gurney and wheeled him inside. I started to go with them into the hospital, but Carla stopped me. "You can't go anywhere looking like that, my love," she said. The shirt and t-shirt under my cut-off vest were smothered in blood. I took the vest off, but it only made the splash of blood across my t-shirt look worse. "To hell with it. We've gotta stay with Salar until the company gets here. The guys who did this might try again, and we can't call the cops to help." "Just a minute," Carla said. She stopped a lawyer, walking toward us briskly, his white court collar stiff with presumptions and his client papers bunched against his arm to prevent escape. "I'll give you 10,000 rupees for your jacket," Carla said, waving a fan of notes. The lawyer looked at the money, squinted at her, and started emptying the pockets of his 1,000 rupee jacket. Carla dressed me with crossed lapels and a turned-up collar. She cleaned the smudges off, licking her fingers and wiping them over my face. "Let's go see how Salar is doing," she said, leading me into the hospital. We waited in a corridor near the operating theater. Black and white tiles, begging for a pattern unsquared, met gray-green walls showing low tide marks from the hypnotic mops of tired cleaners. Function as servant or master, and wherever it rules, suffering sits in corridors purged of consideration. "Are you okay, kid?" "I'm good," she smiled. "You?"
Im.
4 young Khalid Company gangsters clamped along the corridor, pushing attitude. Their leader, Faz Shah, was a hothead, and for some reason it got hotter when he saw me. "What the fuck are you doing here?" he demanded, stopping a few paces away. I stood up in front of Carla, my hand on a knife. She knew most of the older gangsters in the company, but not many of the young volcanoes. "Salam alaikum," I said. Faz Shah hesitated, looking for something he couldn't find in my eyes. I'd fought beside 2 of his older brothers in battles with other gangs. And I'd fought beside Khalid, their new leader. I'd never fought beside Faz Shah. "Wa alaikum salam," he said more softly. "What happened to Salar? Why are you here? Why weren't you here?" I asked. "How did you hear about it?" "We have people in the hospital," he said. "We have people everywhere. Not in the alley, where Azim and Salar got knifed." "Azim? He was gone, bled out, when I saw him." "Where was this?" "They were hard young gangsters, the kind who always find a bad mood, no matter how hard you try to hide it, and they were angry. I was safe, because I was the guy who simply did the right thing, and sooner or later they'd know that. But none of them were safe, if they got angry enough to get mouthy with Carla." "Carla," I said, smiling her with me, "can you please find out if there's some tea, somewhere?" "Be a pleasure," she said, smiling back mystery as she walked past the young gangsters. "It was the first open gully on Muhammad Ali," I said, when Carla left. "Coming from the perfume bazaar, heading back to the city. I met them, just before it happened." "You what?" "We were in the bazaar, and we ran across Salar and Azim. We talked, and we kept walking. They took a shortcut, through the alleys. By the time we walked around to the open gully, it was all over. Salar fell into my arms. Someone was waiting for them. I opened the black jacket, showing the blood, and closed it again. They were abashed, as gangsters are, when they realize that they're in a debt of honor. We got him here in a taxi, I said, sitting down. We've been waiting, to see if he's okay, after surgery. You can join us, if you like. Carla's bringing tea. We've got things to do, Faz Shah said. We've also been waiting for someone from the company to sit with Salar. He's not safe here. Leave a man with him, Faz Shah. I need every man I've got. And you're here. You're still loyal to the company, aren't you? Which company is it now? He laughed and then stopped hard on a different thought. I really do need all my men tonight. He's family, you know. Salar? Yes. He's an uncle of mine. His family's on the way. I'd appreciate it if you'd stay until they get here. Done. And keep this for him, I said, pulling the chain from my pocket. He wants it to go to his sister if he doesn't make it. I'll give it to her. He accepted the chain gingerly, as if he expected it to move in his hand, and then scrunched it into a pocket. He looked at me, his eyes floating on reluctant shores. I owe you on this, Lin, he said. You don't. I do, he said, clenching his teeth. Okay then, transfer the debt to Miss Carla. If you ever hear anything that might harm her, warn her about it, or me, and we'll be square. Okay, he said. Khuda Hafiz. Allah Hafiz, I replied, watching them stamp out, shields of revenge in their eyes. I was glad to be out. I was glad to be carrying the wounded, instead of wounding them, I guess, just as Concannon was glad to be burying them, instead of killing them. In that gray-green silence, the smell of disinfectant, bleached linen and bitter medicine was suddenly too medical, and my heart was beating fast. For a few seconds, emotions running on habit had stamped out into the night with Faz Shah and the others, riding to war before we knew it was declared. All that fight and fear rushed back into me, as if I'd already fought a battle. And then I realized that I didn't have to fight it. Not this time. Not ever again. Chapter 90. I looked up from brutal thoughts and saw Carla, walking toward me slowly down the long hospital corridor. She had a man with her. He was a cleaner, dressed in the working clothes of a peon or someone who does menial work. Carla's face was brilliant with light, her smile a secret, waiting to be told. She sat the man next to me. You absolutely have to meet this man and hear his story, Carla said. Dev, meet Shantaram. Shantaram, meet Dev. Namaste, I said. Pleased to meet you. Please tell him, Dev, Carla said, smiling at me. But it is not a very entertaining story, and it is sad. Perhaps another time. He started to rise from the seat, but we eased him down gently again. Please, Dev, Carla urged. Just tell him, as you told it to me. But I could lose my job, he said uncertainly, if I don't return to my duties. Good, Carla said, because, when we leave here, you're coming with us. He looked at me. I smiled back. Whatever she says, I said. I can't do that, he said. I have a shift to finish. First the story, please, Dev, Carla said. Then we'll finish at the start. Well, as I was telling you while we were waiting for the chai, he began, looking at his hands. My name is Dev, and I am a sadhu. His head was shaved, and he wore no amulets or bracelets. Beyond his uniform, he was stripped clean. He was a very simple, lean man, with a cap on his head and bare feet. His face was stronger than the man, though, and his eyes, when he raised them, still burned fires on beaches. Shiva sadhus cover themselves with ashes from the crematoria, talk to ghosts, and summon demons, even if only in their own minds. The body language was submissive, but the face was indomitable. I had long dreadlocks once, he mused. They're antennae, you know, for people who smoke. I never went without a smoke, with my dreads. Now, with shaved head, no stranger will share a glass of water with me. Why did you shave them off, Dev? I asked. I shamed myself, he said. I was at the peak of my powers. Lord Shiva walked step by step with me. Snakes could not bite me. I slept with them, in the forest. Leopards visited me, waking me with kisses. Scorpions lived in my hair, but never stung me. No man could look into the eyes of my penance without flinching. He stopped and looked at me, his eyes still roaming with the wild and the dead. It's greed, you know, he said. Greed is the key. Follow the greed to the sin. I was greedy for more power. I cursed a man, a foreigner, who challenged me on the street. I cursed him, told him that his riches would bring him ruin, and when I did that, every one of my powers drained from me like rain on a window. The hairs on my arms were standing up, and I looked at Carla, sitting on the other side of the holy man cleaner. She nodded. Were there 2 foreigners that day? I asked. Yes. One of them was very kind. An Englishman. The other was very rude, but I regret what I did. I regret any harm I may have caused him. I regret my betrayal of my own penance. I tried to find the man, but I couldn't, although I searched everywhere, and I couldn't lift my own curse. Dev, Carla said, we know this man. We know the man you cursed. We can take you there, to meet him. The shaven sadhu crumpled, taking short breaths, and then slowly sat upright again. Is it true? Yes, Dev, Carla said. Are you okay, Dev? I asked, a hand on his thin shoulder. Yes, he said. Ma, do you want to lie down for a while? I asked. No, I'm fine. I lost my way, and I started drinking alcohol. I wasn't used to it. I'd never had it in my life. I did bad things. Then a great saint stopped me in the street and took me to his Kali temple. He looked up quickly, as if breaking the surface for air. Do you really know this man I cursed? He asked, his voice trembling. We do, I said. And will he see me? Will he allow me to lift the curse? I think he will, Carla said, smiling. They say Ma Kali is terrifying, he said to me, his hand on my arm. But only to hypocrites. If your heart is innocent, she cannot help but love you. She's the mother of the universe, and we are her children. How could she not love us, if we make a place of innocence for her inside ourselves? He was silent, breathing hard for a moment before he calmed himself, a hand on his heart. Are you sure you're quite well, Dev? Carla asked. I am, he said. Thanks to Ma, I'm well. It's just a bit of a shock. How did you come to be here, Dev? I asked. I shaved my head, and I came to this place, doing the most humble job I could find, serving the helpless and afraid. And now my question has been answered, because you found me here, to bring me to this man. Please, take this. He handed me a laminated card that was blank on one side, and had a design on the other. I slipped it into my vest pocket. What is it, Dev? Carla asked. It's a yantra, he replied. If you look at it with a truthful heart, it will clear the negative from your mind, so that you can make wise, caring choices. We're waiting for news of our friend, I said. Can we get anything for you, Dev? I'm very fine, he said, sitting back against the bench. Am I really resigning from my job? It would seem so, Dev, Carla said. Salar's relatives arrived, escorted by 2 company men, and the news came through that Salar was going to live. We took Dev, the penitent holy man, to the penthouse floor of the Mahesh Hotel. We watched Scorpio fall to his knees, and the sadhu fall with him, and we turned and went back to the elevator. You know, she said, as we waited. This might be just the thing to give Gemini's immune system a jolt. It just might, I said, as the elevator pinged. I know where we're going, Carla said, passing the flask back to me on the way down. You think you're so smart, I said, pulling the lawyer's black jacket around my bloodstained shirt. We're going to get your bike, she said. She's still on Muhammad Ali Road, and you care more about her than you do about getting cleaned up. She was so smart, and reminded me from time to time on the ride back to the Amritsar Hotel. My happily rescued bike hummed machine mantras all the way home. When we tumbled into her rooms, Carla freshened up and left the bathroom for me. I emptied my pockets onto the wide porcelain bench beneath the mirror. The money in my pockets was stained with blood. My keys were red, and the coins I spilled on the bench were discolored, as if having been in a wishing fountain too long. I put the knives and scabbards on the bench, dropped the lawyer's suit jacket on the floor, and let the bloody shirt slide off my just as bloody t-shirt. As I tossed it away, I noticed the card that Dev had given me. I picked it up and placed it on the bench. I looked into the mirror for the first time, meeting myself like a stranger in a meadow. I looked away from my own stare and tried to forget what I couldn't stop thinking. The t-shirt was a gift from Carla. One of her artist protégés had made it, copying the knifework of an artist known for biting the canvas that feeds him. There were slashes, rips and tears all over the front. Carla liked it, I think, because she liked the artist who made it. I liked it because it was incomplete and unique. I pulled it off carefully, hoping to soak the blood from it, but when I looked into the mirror, I let it fall into the sink. The t-shirt had left a mark in blood on my chest. It was a triangle, upside down, with star shapes around it. I looked at the card that Dev had given me. It was almost the same design. India. I let the card fall from my fingers and stared into what I'd let myself become. I looked at the design on my chest. I asked the question we all ask sooner or later if we stay in India long enough. What do you want from me, India? What do you want from me, India? What do you want from me? My heart was breaking on a wheel of coincidence, each foolish accident more significant than the next. If you look at it with a truthful heart, the sadhu said when he gave me the card. Wise, caring choices. I escaped from a prison, where I had no choice, and cut my life down to a single choice, everywhere, with everyone but Carla. Stay, or go. What do you want from me, India? What did the blood design mean? If it was a message, written in another man's blood, was it a warning? Or was it one of those affirmations that Idris talked about? Was I going mad, asking the question, and searching for a significance that couldn't exist? I stumbled into the shower, watching red water run into the drain. The water ran clean at last, and I turned it off, but leaned against the wall, my palms flat against the tiles, my head down. Was it a message? I heard myself asking without asking. A message in blood on my chest? My knives clattered off the bench onto the tiled floor, startling me. I stepped out of the shower to pick up the knives, and slipped on the wet floor. Clutching at the knives as I steadied myself, I cut the inside of my hand. I put the knives down, and cut myself again. I hadn't cut myself with those knives in a year of practice. Blood ran into the basin, spilling onto the card I'd dropped. I scooped the card out of the basin, and dried it off. I ran my hand under the cold tap, and used a towel to press the cuts closed. I cleaned my knives and put them away safely. And I stared at the card, and into the mirror, for quite a while. I found Carla on the balcony, a thin blue robe over her shoulders. I wanted to see her like that every day, for the rest of my life, but I had to go out. I had something to do. We gotta go out again, I said. I've got something I have to do. A mystery. Hey, speaking of, is that a bandage on your hand? It's nothing, I said. Are you up for another ride? The sun will be up soon. I'll be ready before you are, she said, slipping off the robe. I hope you haven't got anything scary in mind. No. It's just finding Dev for Scorpio and Gemini, by taking Solar to the hospital, by being in the perfume bazaar. I think we've used up our quota of karmic coincidence, Shantaram. We shouldn't push our luck. Nothing scary, I promise, I said. Unsettling, maybe, but not scary. By the time we reached the shrine at Haji Ali, pearl banners announced the sun, the Sky King, waking devotion. Early pilgrims, pleaders and penitents were on the path to the shrine. Beggars with no arms or legs, arranged in a ring by their attendants, chanted the names of Allah, as passers-by put coins or notes in their circle of necessity. Children visiting the shrine for the first time wore their best clothes. The boys in sweating suits, copied from movie stars, the girls with their hair pulled fiercely into decorated traps at the back of their heads. I stopped us, halfway to the shrine, halfway to the sleeping saint. This is it, I said. You're not going to pray today? Not today, I said, looking left and right at the people passing by. So, what are you going to do? There was a pause in the flow of people, and we were alone for a few seconds. I pulled my knives from their scabbards and threw them into the sea, one at a time. Carla watched the knives whirl through the air. It was the best whirling I ever did, it seemed to me, before they whirled into vanishing sea. We stood for a while, watching the waves. What happened, Shantaram? I'm not sure. I handed her the card with the yantra design that Dev had given to me. When I took my shirt off, that design was on my chest. It was almost exactly the same, painted on me in Solar's blood. You think it's a sign? She asked. Is that it? I don't know. I was asking myself that same question, and then I cut my hand on my knife. I think I'm done with this. It's weird. I'm not the religious type. But you are the spiritual type. I'm not. I'm really not, Carla. You are, and you just don't know it. That's one of the things I love most about you. We were silent again for a while, listening to the waves. The sound that wind makes, surfing through trees. If you think I'm throwing my gun in there, she said, breaking the silence, you're crazy. Keep your gun, I laughed. I'm done. If I can't fix it with my hands, from now on, then I probably deserve what's coming. And anyway, you've got a gun, and we're always together. She wanted the long way home, even though we were stamp-foot tired, and she got it. When we'd ridden long enough with her new understanding of a slightly different me, we returned to the Amritsar, and showered off the last dust of doubt. I found her smoking a joint on the same balcony we'd left, an hour before, in the same blue robe. You could have hit a fish on the head with one of those knives, she said. When you threw them in the sea. Fish are like you, baby. They're pretty quick. What you did before, with the knives. Did you mean it? I mean to try. Then I'm in it with you, she said, kissing my face. All the way. Even if it takes us out of Bombay? Especially if it takes us out of Bombay. She drew the curtains to hide the day, and slipped off her robe to try out the mirror from Ahmed's old house of style. They both looked good. She put some funk on her music system and funked at me, all mermaid arms and hips. I held her. She put her hands around my neck, and swayed in front of me. Let's go a little nuts, she said. I think we deserve it. Chapter 91. Love and faith, like hope and justice, are constellations in the infinity of truth. And they always pull a crowd. So many excited coffee devotees crowded into the Love and Faith Cafe on its opening night that Ranveer called and told us to come a little later, because love and faith alone couldn't guarantee a place. We found Didier at Leo's, happily insulted by two waiters at the same time, and giving the service that he got. Leopold's was sit-down jumping. People laughed at anything and shouted at nothing with happy determination. It looked like fun, but we had somewhere to go. Just one drink, Didier pleaded. Love and faith has no alcohol. Have you ever heard of such a thing? One drink, Carla said, sitting beside him. And not a mood fluctuation more. Waiter, Didier called. You think you're the only customer who ever got thirsty in this place? Sweetie asked, flicking a rag at the table. Bring alcohol, you fool. Didier snapped. I have a curfew. And I have a life, Sweetie said, slouching away. Gotta give you credit, Didier, I said. You got things back to normal. I've never seen Sweetie surlier. What is credit? Didier preened, but something you have to give back, with interest. Lynn's unarmed, Didier, and naked to the world, Carla said. He threw his knives into the sea this morning. The sea will throw them back again, Didier said. The sea can't get over it that we crawled onto the land. Mark my words, Lynn. The sea is a jealous woman, without the charming personality. A man approached our table carrying a parcel. It was Vikrant, the knife maker, and for a second I felt a twinge of guilt that his superbly made instruments, my knives, were on the bottom of a shallow sea. Hi, Carla, he said. I've been looking for you, Lynn. Your sword is finished. He unwrapped the calico parcel, revealing Kotterbai's sword. It had been repaired with gold rivets, and they'd been molded into the eyes of two dragons, meeting at the tail. It was beautiful work, but it was a painful thing to remember the sword. I'd forgotten it, in the year of mountains and burning mansions, and it shamed me to know that I had. I rest my case, Didier said. The sea is a jealous woman. Didier is never wrong. You can take the boy from the sword, Carla said, but you can't take the sword from the boy. It's beautiful work, I said. How much do I owe you, Vikrant? That was a true labor of love, he said, moving away. It's on me. Don't kill anyone with it. Bye, Carla. Bye, Vikrant. The drinks arrived, and we were about to toast, but I stopped us with a raised hand. Take a look at that girl over there, I said. Lynn, it is hardly gallant to remark on another woman when a woman is in your. Just take a good look at her, Didier. Do you think it's her? Carla asked. Oh, yeah. Who? Didier demanded. Karlisha, Carla said. It's Oleg's Karlisha. Is it really? The girl was tall and looked a little like Carla, with black hair and pale green eyes. She was wearing skin-tight black jeans, a black motorcycle shirt and cowboy boots. Karlisha, Carla muttered. Not bad style. Sweetie, I called, and the waiter shuffled over to me. Have you still got that picture Oleg gave you? He scraped through his pockets petulantly and produced a wrinkled photo. We held it up against the face of the girl, sitting 5 tables away. Call Oleg, and get your reward, I said. That's the girl he's been waiting for, over there. He goggled at the photograph for a while, looked at the girl, and scurried away to the phone. Are we about done? I asked. You don't want to stay and see Oleg and Karlisha reunited? Carla teased. I'm tired of being fate's unwilling accomplice, I said. I must see the reunion, Didier said. And I will not move from this spot until I have witnessed it with my own eyes. Okay, I said, ready to leave. A man approached our table. He was short, thin, dark-skinned and confident. Excuse me, he said, are you the one they call Shantaram? Who wants to know? Didier snapped. My name is Tatif, and I have something to discuss with Mr. Shantaram. Discuss away, Carla said, waving a hand at me. I hear you are a man who will do anything for money, Tatif said. That's a mighty offensive thing to say, Tatif, Carla said, smiling. It certainly is, Didier agreed. How much money? I held up my hand to stop the auction. We've got an appointment, Tatif, I said. Come back at 3 tomorrow. We'll talk. Thank you, he said. Good night to all. He slipped between the tables and out into the street. You don't even know what he has in mind. This, Tatif, Didier warned. I liked the look of him. Didn't you? I did, Carla said. And I think we're gonna see him again. Certainly not, Didier puffed. Did you not see his shoes? Of course, I said. Military half-boot, white on the sides with salt, and on the edges of his jacket. My guess is that he's spent a lot of time at sea recently. I mean the style, Lynn, Didier sighed. They were hideous. I have seen taxidermy with more style. Bye, Didier, Carla said, standing. See you at the opening. Carla and I rode beside the crowded night causeway, and found a bigger crowd a few blocks away at the opening of the Love and Faith coffee shop, spilling onto the footpath and a splash of the road. We parked the bike outside, and sat there for a while. The sign over the door, showing symbols from all faiths and written in Hindi, Marathi and English, was lit with a circle of white magnolia lights. A crimson halo of frangipani lights framed the street window, showing customers inside drinking espresso, while Vincent and Ranve worked the Italian coffee machine, steam rising industrially. There were 3 empty stools in the curved counter of 15. Ranve had reserved them for us, but I wasn't ready, yet, to go into that corner of affection they'd created. My thoughts were of a girl from Norway, seen in a locket 1 hour, and seen standing in Faith's shadow an hour later. I looked at her, smiling in Love and Faith's window, already in her own forever. Vincent exchanged a quick glance with her, smiled quickly, and talked happily to a customer. I didn't want to go inside. There was a purity in the thing they'd become together that I didn't want to disturb. I'm staying here, for a minute, I said, standing beside the bike. You can go ahead. I'll be there in a minute. Always together, Carla said, sitting on the bike again, and lighting a joint. Didier joined us, a calming hand against his breathless chest. What happened? Carla asked. Didier held a hand out to stop her, regaining his breath. Is my place still reserved, inside? Didier gasped. Front and center, I said. What happened, with Oleg and Karlisha? Oleg ran inside, Didier replied, his heart slowing to medicated levels again, and he just picked her up, like a sack of onions, and walked out with her into the night. You didn't follow them? Carla asked, laughing. Of course, Didier said. Didier is a detective of the Lost Love Bureau, after all. Where did they go? I asked. He disappeared, Didier hissed, in Randall's limousine. He is exasperating, that Randall. In the nicest possible ways, Carla said. Are you not going inside? Didier asked, looking at the crowd laughing in the new cafe. We're gonna sit here for a while, Carla said. Go ahead, Didier. Class the joint up. Then it is Didier who must raise the flag for Love and Faith, he said, draping his scarf over his shoulder. We live in the age of opening your mouth as wide as you can. Watch me, as I scream and shout for us. He straightened his jacket, crossed the footpath and embraced his way inside. He sat beside a young businessman, stumbling into the handsome victim as he sat. The businessman liked it and began talking brightly. We sat down and we watched the bustling, successful opening for a while in silence, and then Carla leaned against me. I like bike talk, she said. Even when we're side by side. So do I. You want to know who Kavita Singh's new silent partner is? She asked softly. Will it scare me? Probably, she replied. Good. Tell me. Madam Joe, Carla said. How did that happen? Madame Joe wanted to blackmail her former clients and make a comeback as a power broker in Bombay. Fate, with a little help, brought her to Kavita. Joe has a book with a record of every customer she ever had and every sexual preference. I'd like to read it, actually, when they're done with it. Why did Joe come to Kavita for help? I put the idea in her head. How? You want all the answers, don't you? I want all the everything, when it comes to you, I laughed. I knew about the book, and I knew she was weakened, without the palace, but still ambitious. I also knew the name of her most loyal patron. He's a businessman, and I bought his business. In exchange, he suggested that the ideal person to broker the blackmail ring was Kavita Singh. That's when Madame Joe started getting interested in Kavita. And when the twins were killed, she went to Kavita for help. Just as I'd hoped she would. Vices live in habits, and habits make people predictable. What does Kavita get out of it? Apart from the sex? Please, Carla, don't. I'm kidding. I told Kavita, 6 weeks ago, that it was Madame Joe who killed her boyfriend. Her fiancé, actually. He objected to Madame Joe's bribery of officials in his area. He was getting a following. She killed him for it. How did you know who did it? Do you really want to know? Well, it was Lisa. Okay, Lisa? How did she know? She was working for Madame Joe at the time, at the Palace of Happy. It was before I got her out of there. And burned the place down. Lisa couldn't tell Kavita what she knew, so she told me. Why couldn't Lisa tell Kavita? You know how Lisa was. She couldn't talk to anyone she was having sex with. I'm beginning to think you knew her better than I did. No, she said, smiling softly. But we did have an understanding about you. She said something to me about that. How she met you at Kayani's and talked about us. She laughed gently. You really want to know what happened? Again, with the really want to know? I smiled. I kept tabs on you, from the moment you walked away from me. At first, I was happy for you, because you seemed to be happy with Lisa. But I knew Lisa, and I knew she'd mess it up. Wait a minute, you were checking on me, for 2 years? Of course. I love you. So clear, so light. Trust in a human eye. How does this? I began, recollecting myself, connect to your little understanding with Lisa? She smiled, sadly. I heard that Lisa was back to her wicked ways, and was running around on you, a lot, and that you didn't know about it. I didn't ask about it. I know that, she said. But everyone was talking about it. Everyone except you. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter. It wasn't right, because you're better than that, and you deserve better than that. So, I walked up behind her one day, at her favorite dress shop, and tapped her on the shoulder. And what did you say to her? I told her to tell you exactly what she was doing, and let you decide if you wanted to stay, or to stop slutting around. Slutting around? That's pretty harsh. Harsh? There wasn't a man or a woman safe at that art gallery, including the customers. I could have cared less, except that she was doing it to you. And you made some kind of agreement with her? Not then. I gave her a chance. I loved her. You know how easy it was to love her, when you were looking at her. But she didn't change. So I sat down with her at Kayani's and told her that I love you, and I didn't want her to hurt you anymore. What did she say? She agreed to let you go. She wasn't in love with you, but she was deep in like with you. She said she wanted to do it a piece at a time, and not just disappear in a cold break. You broke us up, Lisa and me? I asked, disturbed by a gust of truth. Is that what happened? Not exactly, she sighed. I can see her face, when I found her, on the bed. I remember what I said to her. If you don't tell the truth, and you keep on hurting him, I'll stop you. And you meant it, even though you loved her? Every dinner you went to with Lisa in that last year, she said quietly, you were dining with her lovers, husband and wife both, sometimes, and you were the only one at the table who didn't know it. I'm sorry. She was out a lot, and I never asked her. I was away a lot, and I couldn't tell her where I'd been, or what I'd been smuggling. She was in trouble, and I didn't realize it. She wasn't in trouble, she was trouble. When she agreed to stop messing with you that day at Kayani's, she made a pass at me. She did? I laughed. Hell, yeah. She was Lisa. Beautiful, crazy and popular. That she was. You know, at first I thought you were naive. But you're not. You're trusting, and I love that about you. I love being trusted. Trust is the soul's drug of choice. It meant so much to me that you didn't give up on me. It meant more to me that we did it apart on trust than if we'd done it together. Do you know what I mean? I think I do. But we're in it together from now on, Carla. In it together from now on, she repeated, leaning against me. You really watched out for me all that time? I did. And you never left the city, as you said you might. I couldn't. Not while you were still here. In front of us, people were laughing and joking on the footpath outside Love and Faith. I scanned the street for threats, taking in every pickpocket, drug dealer and racketeer working the edges of the herd. It was okay, illicitly quiet. You never told anyone what Lisa said, that Madame Jo ordered the killing? I kept the secret to myself until the time was right. Now Kavita knows, and she'll keep Madame Jo close until she has the book. Then she'll introduce Madame Jo to her little friend, Karma. Madame Jo and Kavita? It seemed to me like a double-headed coin, fixed to hurt someone no matter how it landed. Let me get this straight. Madame Jo doesn't know that Kavita is the fiancé of a guy she killed, 4 years ago? That's right. Kavita Singh isn't her real name. She was in London, freelancing, when her boyfriend was killed. She came back, used a byline name, and worked for Ranjit. She always hoped to find out what happened to her boyfriend one day, working as a journalist. I waited until Kavita was strong enough to confront and defeat Madame Jo, and get away with it. I built her up, and gave her power. And then, the day she was waiting for came knocking, and I told her. So, Kavita's watching Madame Jo, who's using her to shake down people in the book to get back the power she lost, and when Kavita gets the book, she'll get rid of Madame Jo? That's it. Chess, played by dangerous women. How long till Kavita gets that book? Not long. Will Kavita use the book, once she gets it? Oh, yeah, Carla laughed. Making ocean-going vessels of change. I don't know which one of them is scarier, Kavita or Madame Jo. I told you that you misjudged Kavita, she said. I don't judge anyone. I want a world without stones, or people to throw them at. I know that, she laughed. What's so funny? Something Didier said, about you. What? Lynn has a good heart, which is inexcusable. Thank you, I think. You want to know who's got the third office, downstairs? This is certainly a night for revelations. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Absolutely, she said. You want to know who's behind door number 3, or don't ya? Of course I do. I want to see the tunnel, which I still haven't seen. You won't sign the non-disclosure agreement. Every time you sign a legal document, fate takes a day off. It's Johnny Cigar, she said. In room number 3? Yeah. When will you stop stealing my characters? You've got half a novel at the Amritsar, and I haven't even written it yet. Johnny's starting a real estate business, she said, ignoring me adorably. He's specializing in slum relocation. Here comes the neighborhood. I financed him, she said. With the last of Ranjit's baptism money. I thought for a while about the multiplying menage at the Amritsar Hotel. Even with Karlisha back, I said, Oleg's not leaving, is he? I hope not, she smiled. And so do you. You like that guy. I do like him. And I'd like him better 1 degree less chirpy. Is Naveen coming tonight? He's working on a case for Diva. One way or another, that girl manages to keep Naveen busy and close. You think they'll get together? I don't know, I replied, trying not to hope for something I wasn't sure they wanted. But I know Naveen will never give up on Diva. No matter what he says, he's crazy about her. And if you put an Indian and an Irishman together, like him, you get a guy who can't give up on love. Customers of Love and Faith gathered on the footpath, holding up t-shirts, and occasionally exchanging them. What's that about? Remember the t-shirt version of what Idris was saying? The one that we gave Vincent? Yeah. Vincent and Ranve used Randall's notes, from what Idris said, and they put his quotes on t-shirts. They're giving them away as opening night gifts. A young man, not far from us, was holding a t-shirt up to read it. I read it with him, over his shoulder. A heart, filled with greed, pride or hateful feelings, is not free. When I heard Idris say it, on the mountain, I agreed with it, and I was glad to see it preserved and living, somehow, in the world, even just on a t-shirt. And I also had to admit that I'd found shares of greed and pride inside myself, and too often. But I wasn't alone anymore. As Ranve said, I'd reconnected. What do you think? Carla asked me, watching people swap quotations from Idris on their free t-shirts. Teachers, like writers, never die while people still quote them. I love you, Shantaram, she said, cuddling in beside me. I looked at the happy, laughing group, crammed into the narrow coffee shop. The people we'd lost, in our island city years, would fill the same space. Too many dead who were still alive, whenever I thought of them. And almost all of them were lives that humility or generosity would have saved. Vikram, Nazir, Tariq, Sanjay, Vishnu, and all the other names chanted at me, always ending in Abdullah, my brother, Abdullah, my brother. Carla relaxed against me, her foot tapping to the music coming from love and faith. I tipped her face to the light until she was the light, and kissed her, and we were one. Truth is the freedom of the soul. We're very young, in this young universe, and we often fail and dishonor ourselves, even if only in the caves of the mind. We fight when we should dance. We compete, cheat and punish innocent nature. But that isn't what we are, it's simply what we do in the world that we made for ourselves, and we can freely change what we do, and the world we made, every second that we live. In all the things that really matter, we are one. Love and faith, trust and empathy, family and friendship, sunsets and songs of awe. In every wish born in our humanity we are one. Our humankind, at this moment in our destiny, is a child blowing on a dandelion, without thought or understanding. But the wonder in the child is the wonder in us, and there's no limit to the good we can do when human hearts connect. It's the truth of us. It's the story of us. It's the meaning of the word God. We are one. We are one. We are one. Proclaimer. This novel depicts some characters who are living self-destructive lives. Authenticity demands that they drink and smoke and take drugs. I don't endorse drinking, smoking or drug taking, just as I don't endorse crime and criminality as a lifestyle choice, or violence as a valid means of conflict resolution. What I do endorse is doing our best to be fair, honest, positive and creative with ourselves and others. G.D.R. Gregory David Roberts. Gregory David Roberts, born June 1952, is an Australian author, most noted for his novel Shantaram. He was a heroin addict and convicted bank robber who escaped from Pentridge Prison and fled to India where he lived for 10 years. Asterisk.